everyone, Josie here. This episode was recorded during the summer of 2024, so some of the topics you'll hear may be outdated. If that's not a big deal for you, welcome to the group chat. Turn up the volume and enjoy eavesdropping as me and my friends gist about why Uganda is the place to be. Welcome back to the podcast, Why Uganda, where through discussing various themes, we explore why I, Josie, have kept coming back to Uganda and ultimately what it's like navigating Uganda from both a local perspective and a foreigner's perspective. This episode, we're diving into passport privilege because it's that season for all the Musamas to return and it's low-key triggering. So let's get into it.
How are the Musama triggering you?
It's just supposed to be...
I want to still hear it.
It's supposed to be a thing. Should I say Muzungus? Which one is more triggering?
The Wasama, because the Wasama, somebody once told me that when the Wasama arrive, they take over our girlfriend.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry.
That relationships are put on hold. Yeah, I'm not speaking for myself.
Sure.
Not that this
You might think, you might start feeling sorry for me. No, there's no need for you to sorry for me.
So today we have a full house again. I'm joined with Agatha, Karane, and two lovely guests. Oswan, who y'all may remember from the religion episode, and the new voice you'll be hearing is no other than Eshban. So I'm going to start with you, Agatha. Tell us, what has this week looked like for you, or what's something interesting that's happened in Uganda for you this week?
Dune 2. The dust is exhausting.
Still, you talk about the dust at like episode 2.
Oh yes, in this season that Josie was in Kampala, everywhere was dusty. They're constructing all roads, and there's a construction going on right in front of my office building.
Damn.
And I can't believe that's my life now. All my clothes look like I've been bathing in sand. Is that Karane? Are they doing anything about this?
Why are you asking Karane?
Like I told you, Karane and one of our guests today, National Cake, they are closer to it. So, what are you guys doing?
Shots fired. This is one of our guests.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Is it worse when it rains, or is it better?
I feel like it's better when it rains a bit.
At least there's no dust.
Yeah, because there's no dust. It's a bit muddy, but at least there's no dust and you can see where you're going. It's so bad even in the night that the dust just swallows you whole.
Really?
Yes.
My goodness.
And it's at like 4 tons for me.
Anyway, there's a video on the internet about that kind of scenario, but I'd rather not go there.
So, let's go somewhere we can go. What has this week looked like for you, Karane?
Hello. Imagine, is this what you're telling people, sons?
Karane, tell us about your week.
So, the most interesting thing, I'm going to sound a bit nerdy, but
We welcome the nerds.
that whole geopolitics playing out in the world right now is really interesting.
What is geopolitics?
There are so many. Which one are you speaking of?
So, for example, if you are following like the US election, because what is decided by citizens of the US has a huge impact all over the world.
It's a huge assumption that it's decided by the citizens of the US.
Exactly.
But,
Yeah, but it has long antennas that touches policy even outside it. So
yes.
it's something like you would want to actually follow and see what are they choosing. But their president has been at the G7 and boy, oh boy. Yeah, he's attracting all the news. So but also Israel, like what's happening, peace deal or whatever. We're also waiting for the students to come back from the holiday. So it's interesting. That's interesting for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I love it. So we're going to start with Oswan and then we're going to go to our new guest. Oswan, what has this week looked like for you?
It's been an interesting week. But I think the most exciting thing for me has been a new dance move that I've discovered recently.
A new dance move?
Yeah.
Oh, he has been holding out on us.
What is it called?
I'm actually shocked by Ugandans because sometimes I wonder if they're truly suffering. One day you hear them saying, we're hungry, the hospitals are bad. But you find them dancing and you think they're celebrating everything. You might think everything is okay. But I think it's a coping mechanism. And one day if you give me a chance, I'll show you that dance move.
But what is it called? Put it on
Let's
the
make
record.
that one day today.
Empere.
After we wrap up.
Are you familiar with something called empere?
I am not.
It involves bending one's back and then moving it rhythmically back and forth.
Bending it in which direction?
Your nyash.
You have to create a depression.
So that's how they just nyash.
Yeah, and then you stab the ground with your foot.
Oh, good. You stab the ground with your foot.
Y'all see what I mean? His descriptions. It's just very visual.
I'm telling you.
In Uganda, we say fumite chigere mutaka. Stab the ground with your foot.
Okay, I can't wait for you to show this to us off the record.
Once you give me the opportunity, I'll show you.
No problem. Do you need a specific type of song or?
I will make the request.
You'll take care of all that.
As and when it becomes necessary.
All right, Eshban, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah.
What has this week looked like for you?
Okay, I think that the most interesting thing that I saw this week was there's a story that was reported. A Ugandan journalist, Andrew Mwenda, was named in a UN report on the conflict in the western part of Uganda, Eastern Congo, and it's been really interesting to see the reactions of various so-called international peace security experts around the world, with many people. I think that kind of painting it with a moral shade, the involvement of an individual in a peacekeeping process. I mean, we take it for granted that only states and international organizations can be involved, and that Global South individuals especially should not be involved in these processes. It's been quite interesting to observe. And I think in a way it connects to what we are going to talk about.
Yes.
How, the world thinks that people in Africa or the Global South should stay in their positions. And the systems that control that.
That's interesting. I love to see how we have a lot of political enthusiasts joining us today because, as I mentioned, we're talking about passport privilege or maybe the lack thereof. Before we get into it, I want to understand a bit more of how do y'all understand passport privilege? What do you understand it to be?
The ability to teleport. No, because passport, please say
Teleport.
you don't have to think. Let me tell you, and it's funny that I do admin work, but I hate filling in paperwork. And to just go to some of these places, the amount of paperwork involved is atrocious. To say that is because why?
You're just trying to move.
It's so bad. It's so bad and so exhausting, in my opinion. So the people who don't have to do all of that paperwork, that's a privilege.
First of all, which passports do y'all have?
Ugandan passports, the blue one.
Josie, what are you saying? What do you have? Which one do you have?
I just want to have a baseline, establish a baseline here.
With.
Yeah.
I think
Understand our perspective.
that's an important question because because we might be talking to Karane and he holds a US passport.
He has a diplomatic passport.
He has the Ugandan one, but the red one.
Oh,
He passed it through the VIP lounge.
you see?
Because he's very
These are absolute lies,
So
guys.
Karane, speak freely.
I hold the blue Ugandan passport.
We won't hold it against you much.
Yeah.
So Karane, how do you understand passport privilege?
No, from the I've never really tried to travel all these places. I've never really, So I've largely traveled within the East African countries where I just maybe just a national ID or whatever, and I'll be entering and having lots of fun. But
Do you have
I've
a
had so
passport?
many. Yeah, I do. But I've from the stories you hear about your people who are trying to go out there. It's not okay. So some people are have work conferences or workshops and whatever out of the country, especially in the global north. But they give you your visa or they give you a response to your application, like 6 months later after what your purpose of going was for. That is one. I've also noticed that the amount of money you need to pay, to access this kind of travel. So it is, first of all, it's not returnable. Like you don't return it. That is also the politics of it all. So it looks like as a money-making venture because there are hardly any winners, or some have to do maybe 5 times or whatever. So yeah, if you're able to travel to those countries or hold a passport where you can easily crisscross. Recently, the richest man in Africa, what's his name?
Dangote?
Dangote was complaining about
Right, yes.
about
But even he
his travel.
himself struggles to go through.
You can imagine. So
Travel
it's
within Africa.
and also it has been incorporated in our psyche.
Yes.
Because we believe those ones are safer. The countries to go there are safer, more stringent,
Right.
and perhaps you don't need to do all this. Batman, like Oswan was saying earlier, some random guy from anywhere in those countries can come and get a visa on arrival, and business as usual, but not for everyone. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's if you can't access that kind of travel so easily, then I think you're suffering.
Underprivileged.
You're suffering severe lack of.
Passport privilege.
Yeah.
Okay. Some people don't even have passports, and I wonder what life is like that. But Oswan, tell us what's your understanding of passport privilege?
Well, I understand it as it is.
Talk it to the mic.
I understand passport privilege, first of all, to mean that somebody, based on where they were born, has more privilege to move around than the other. And that the presumption is that somebody born in a different place holding that passport automatically is, a superior kind of person, that he should be treated differently, that another one requires more scrutiny and less scrutiny for the other one. Yeah, but I believe that these are all based on age-old biases that are not really based on enough information. I think it's improper. Yeah, but I haven't really done much travel myself or attempted to travel to these countries where they give you that much of a hard time. I've only traveled within the region, really. The farthest I've gone is Congo, and I still didn't struggle to get there. So maybe one day I'll face the struggles of my friend Agatha here.
We'll get into it. Eshban, what about you?
So I understand passport privilege to be, the ability for one's international travel to be facilitated or to be undermined and prevented. And I think that for me, there's something to be said there about, the relationship between mobility and freedom and status, that the people, groups, nationalities that have much more international mobility, tend to enjoy broader freedoms that those that don't have international mobility don't. So for me, passport privilege is about that, the right to, who the international system says has a right to travel and has a right to be mobile, and who doesn't have that right, and for whom that right has also been systematically denied. Because I don't think that these things happen by chance. I think there's a global system that says if you have a European passport, you can travel easily. If you have a Ugandan passport, forget about it.
That's so interesting. I want to go a bit into, where do y'all think this all came from? How did this come to be, this idea of passports, the privilege that come with it? Has it always been this way?
I think it's
Othering.
about power relations.
It's power relations.
I think it's all about power. And he who has power makes the rules. So if a given group of people has more power over the others, which in this case, certain countries that are considered, as the name suggests, superpowers,
which they named themselves.
They chose themselves, even Great Britain.
Yeah.
So all these countries, I think it's a way of them feeling superior. At the bottom line of it all, they feel that the people from certain countries are not at their level, and that they should work hard to get to their countries. Yeah.
I'm not sure where it comes from, but I know what it tells us, that if you don't have a strong passport, say if you're Ugandan and you're trying to travel to Europe or North America, that you're less than. And I think that for me, the ability to restrict one's mobility also says something about power that we exercise over others. We do it for pets, we do it for children, and I think that in some places, in some countries, they still do it for women. So the fact that the fact that there's a system that has decided that if you're African, if you're Ugandan, you're going to have to go through a series of hoops and policies and rules and procedures to travel to North America or Europe. But if you're North American and Europe and you seek to travel to Uganda, all you have to do is maybe spend, 20 minutes on a website.
Avail yourself.
Avail yourself.
Yeah.
I'm triggered. But look, listen, I
And do you know how many copies, how many documents you have to fill with how many pages. Close. I feel like they're almost 100.
And that's just the documents. That's not even the interview
Thank you.
for y'all. I mean, we'll get into it. Y'all can share a bit more because, I feel like I was in y'all's shoes at one point in my life, right?
Far back.
I know.
Is it not Josie who said she had to decide between backtracking in Europe? Who was that? And coming to Seed.
It was Josie.
But okay, we love it.
But no, it's precisely because of that I was like, let me go see my African brothers and sisters.
And not because you have a kingdom in Cameroon.
Yeah, no, I think
This is Sangala Mbogo for Cameroon.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what I'm always saying. I'm like, Josie might be a royal in Cameroon.
You also send those Facebook messages asking for rescue.
Y'all are speaking it into existence. I receive it. But no, I mean, being from Cameroon, I originally had a Cameroonian passport, right? A green passport with my fellow West Africans. But before I knew it, I never really... Actually, that affected us in the way that in growing up, we couldn't travel back as easily because I think the visa that we were under and just our situation was a bit complicated. And so having a green passport made it all the more difficult to try to figure out, okay, well, if we go back, how are we going to come back? There are just a lot of hoops that you always need to worry about jumping when you don't have a quote unquote strong passport. I just want to take a quick break. Is there anything else y'all wanted to add about the history of travel? Because y'all were saying a lot before we started recording, and now y'all are quiet.
History.
So, yeah. So that I guess that's my experience, but I'm still quite interested about how this all came to be. What did travel look like before we had to deal with asking for visas, or?
From what I understand is that at first, of course, humanity was also moving around so much. We were hunters, we were gatherers. So we chased after food. It's just recent that we chose to settle down with our food, and then we can't move as much as we used to do. But also a few years in our political history, it's also evident on how some people came from the north of the world, and they wanted to do trade, they wanted to do their politics, they wanted to do what, and so they found themselves here. And it's also like a constant wheel that keeps moving. So we now end up wanting to be like them because they present this picture that, of course, we are the most enlightened, you are the best opportunities. You would want to be like us. So that psyche is also like very evident because now our standards are all set by these guys, but unfortunately. So you aspire to, have some little money, retirement house, maybe some pension when you retire, and you're looking at your existence here, and you can't imagine it.
So in which way are y'all trying to be like them when it comes to travel?
So I think is that we are traveling to go and live in their cities because we believe there are better opportunities there. And we've seen this happen. We've seen this happen to Dubai. Oswan knows these things better. But you see that travel also follows money most times. It follows money. So it is either you're exporting things or you're spending money as a tourist somewhere or whatever. So that is what I think about travel right now. Yeah.
If I may say something brief about that.
Yeah, just say it into the mic.
The immigration has been almost since time immemorial. People have been migrating. People have been moving from one place to another, maybe to go and work, to go and live there, or just try something different. But people have been moving. I think the reason why he mentioned me in connection with Dubai is because I work with a company that externalizes labor. So among other things, we find opportunities for people in countries different from their own, and they go there and work.
So you send people to Dubai,
among other places. Yeah.
I'm just
organs trafficking.
No, we have had all these accusations, but there are people who are doing it legitimately.
How are you sure that the accusations are false?
Oh no, they're not false.
Oh,
it's true that people are trafficking others. It's just that I'm saying that the guys I work with are not trafficking anyone.
No problem.
We are finding them legitimate opportunities which are safe. Yeah.
Would you go?
Happily.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I know that there are people who have gone and improved their lives. They've come back with better, come back and set up new things, built homes for their mothers, built what. So yeah. Of course I would go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it.
Eshban, you were saying something before we started about how this isn't so much a conversation around passport privilege, but the lack thereof. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think the lack of passport privilege, in a sense, reminds us of our place in the world, because there's something about travel and mobility that speaks to freedoms, and I think that people have always been in pursuit of opportunities, freedoms, and they move from one place to another. But when the international migration travel system, that is visas and airlines, decides that because you're in Uganda, or you hold a Ugandan passport, that you can't travel freely, say to Canada or North America, to North America or to Europe, that lack of passport privilege, in a sense, reminds you of your place in the world.
Yeah.
That other parts of the world have that freedom, but you don't, even though we are supposedly all human beings with the same freedom. Other parts of the world have the freedom to travel, but if you're based in Uganda and other parts of the global south, you don't have that freedom, and that you should accept it as part of a global system and also accept it passively.
Right. And that's why so many people go to all means, or through all means, I should say, to try to get a better passport.
Yeah.
And then you'll be, say, for instance, in Canada, and you're just staying there and you can't see your family, can't see your friends, all in the name of trying to get a better passport, which is equated to a better life.
Yeah.
Because now you're moving freely. Well, actually, how does having a stronger passport equate to a better life?
Is it really a better life? Like the life.
Why is everyone fighting for it so
I was once
badly?
having a conversation with some people, and we got around discussing that who is happier. Is it the Karamojong man with 100 cows and 4 wives, or the Wall Street banker the banker on Wall Street? And somebody asked, the other guy asked one question, but I said, but how many Karamojong herdsmen commit suicide? How many Karamojong herdsmen? I don't know.
People commit suicide only because they're unhappy.
Does that have
No,
to do
it's
with
not really.
their?
It's not really,
does
but-
that have to do with their status in travel, or does that have to do with what they chose to do in life? Where's the correlation?
Because somebody would tell that herdsman that he needs to go for a better life in the countries with better passports. Yeah. Because you said that it makes your life better. And I'm saying that maybe he feels his life is better.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the middle ground. Go ahead.
But having freedoms does make your life better, especially the freedom to travel. Why should other people have it
Of course.
and others don't?
Yeah. I think it can make your life better. Freedom is, of course, admirable. Everybody wants
Just
to have
having the
freedom.
option.
Yeah.
The
To know
options
that
has
I
been
can
taken
move
away.
whenever I feel like.
Right.
Yeah, but also the power, like you see, when you travel, the perspective you have is so wide. You're learning so many different things about.
But you
so
don't have to
many-
go far for that, per se.
I agree entirely. But a person who travels more widely is better at understanding the global viewpoint, like of things, of people, like understanding different cultures is very difficult because you always hear these myths about people, all these things people say about all
Yeah,
these
until
things.
you go there and see.
Until you go there and see, actually, this is very different. But also people living totally different lives.
Yeah. Prior to coming to Uganda, let me tell you, man, I thought Coney was still running the streets.
You see?
Yeah.
Those are the things.
But y'all also played into it. Y'all were like, careful, don't go into the bushes. They might snatch you.
Yeah, so a person like that is so powerful, man, for a mind to believe that you can easily compete with everyone out there. But somehow there's always this myth that this one is more superior in their ways and living. And it's really, we are all human, man. At the end of the day.
I don't imagine for me that there's a way of life superior to another. And that in as much as
That's your stoicism coming in.
not really, but partly. But I mean, a person could be content anywhere. A person could be happy anywhere, could be enjoying anywhere, could live.
Yeah, but also there's no
somebody could
ceiling
live
for the
the
content.
ultimate life in
No,
any place.
there must be a ceiling for the content, or else you're not
There's
content.
something there, especially in this world we are living. You're always trying to get the next big thing.
But here's the thing: there's never satisfaction.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, there's never satisfaction. I don't think that the guys who are supposedly at the top are satisfied.
They want more of it.
Yeah. I guess the good middle ground for people who are fighting to have like better a stronger passport is getting it and then going back to
where they came from.
to that. Yeah. Because I mean, if we're talking about, let's say the Cameroon man, if he happens to go get the stronger passport and then come back to this life that he was enjoying, but somebody was like, no, you need that stronger passport because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
He goes, he sees that that's not the case. And he
Now he would have the other
happiness.
perspective too. He would know what New York is like.
Right.
You know.
But now he has, it goes back to this idea of having that freedom to move around. Prior to, he was quote unquote stuck, right?
But let's talk also about like affordability. It's not even all about policy in place, but like how many people can actually afford
And
to
it's
travel.
expensive because
You
of
get it?
But
Like
you see, a Karamojong with 100 cows should afford to travel. Because 100 cows represent
now
100
you're
million
thinking,
shillings.
you're not thinking like him because I don't think he wants to sacrifice those many cows
But
to get a ticket.
to go to Dubai and back, it's 3 cows only.
Why are we talking
But then
about
look at it like that.
cows?
One,
Yeah.
you see, one cow to him is the whole of his earth, man.
Yeah.
For him to sacrifice it is something.
That's an issue of perspective. And his perspective might be limited by the fact that he hasn't traveled.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, talking about the cost, both financially, emotionally, physically. Agatha, I know you've had some experiences recently. Let's get into it a bit because you mentioned a desire to relocate. What has that process been like for you?
I don't know anymore, honestly. I feel like it has taught me to just stay, not to stay, but to plant my feet where I am. Because I wasn't enjoying myself. I was so fixated with the idea of relocating that I never just enjoyed Kampala, Uganda. But now I'm having a good time, right?
Yeah.
And during my application process, there's like a series of files that you have to fill in and upload. Bank statements, travel histories, passport copies, family history, health even. Do you have insurance? How is your bank statement looking like? There's so many things.
They want to know too much about you.
Oh, yeah. Do you have land? Are you married? Do you have kids? Are you sure you'll be back in 3 days? And so you...
And that's not even the flight ticket.
Exactly. I didn't even talk about the flight ticket and your itinerary while you're there.
Yeah.
And so you finish uploading all these intrusive questions, only to be told at the end of it, entry into Canada is not a right, it's a privilege. When I saw that line,
Wait, they told
it
it like
hit
during the
me.
application process.
Yeah, because when you read, they don't say it to you, but when you read the instructions, that was the last thing before you press agreed, confirm.
But I think it's also a bitter truth, honestly. Because
It's a bit. Oh, have I talked about that? There's a different fee for your biometrics. You just have to pick a day so they can take a picture of your eyes, your fingernails, and whatnot. And why? Anyways, when I saw that line, I realized that I'm doing so much to join people who may not even value me as much as I value myself and as much as I'm valued
but
here.
of course.
Because if you cannot recognize my humanity and that I'm worthy of going wherever I want to go without all of that, what makes me believe that I'll have a pleasant experience there? If that's just part zero.
The application.
And that, yeah. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to just leave this. Let me seek another option. But in the meantime, I'm not rushing, to be honest. My parents have also begun to be on board and be like, oh, if you want to go, it's okay. We can if money is your issue, we can do it for you, whatever. But I'm not as moved as they are. Because what? So for me, and it shouldn't be in a negative light anyways, but that's how I see it. Also, when I went to Arusha and Nairobi, I realized that their immigration officers are so friendly. You know, kwaheri, karibuni. When you come back to EBS, National ID passport, this is allowed. Do you know how much
They even want
plane
some
tickets
command
are?
from you.
Right? I mean, some are nice anyway. Some are nice, but whole point being is that it's really, really expensive. It's mentally draining, and to achieve even some, like I said, there's certain things that people potentially lie about, like being married. So you have to either go to NASA and get a marriage certificate, or agree with Karane, you guys marry, so he looks like your actual husband type of thing. But like the loops people are going through, granted, it's changing their societies and their homes, and people are confident knowing, oh, I have my brother in the UK or whatever. Why can't we put that energy here? Maybe, okay, the policies. It's a double-edged sword. But
Right. No, everyone has a story. It seems as if everyone has a story or has experienced in some way the challenges of just trying to get up
But we need someone to speak for the privilege.
Yeah, in fact, I had a question. I had a question on
yeah,
that.
what was it?
On the quote unquote privilege, because to travel when you're Ugandan, you have to prove that you have deep social roots
Yes.
or economic roots and that you're going to come back. It requires you to present your bank statement, say proof of residence. You might need a recommendation letter from the person that you're going to visit or see or institution. And so many other very, very dehumanizing things. And there's also the waiting period that for some embassies, especially European embassies, you have to apply at least 2 months before and then wait for a date for an interview. And the clever thing that they've done now is that they have these visa management offices where the person you interact with is a black face. So you feel as though the institutions operating you are run by black people. And yet behind them are very white institutions. So anyway, my question is to Josie, what was your experience like applying for a
Did you have to
passport to
apply for a
Uganda?
visa? I will keep telling Josie that if
A
she
visa.
wanted a national ID, she should have one by next week.
Yeah.
And that's so true.
Not me being on the hot seat.
So, share with us your experience, please.
They said that somebody should speak for the privileged.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Someone should
we want
speak
to hear the
up.
voice of the privilege.
Why? What is it like?
in this life, we all have certain privileges. You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah, so applying for Ugandan visas prior to, I won't talk about this most recent one. I'll talk about my very first one. I believe it was still visa on arrival. So I think all I had to do was submit some documents online because I applied online and then travel with those documents. And they came within a couple days, a week max.
Wow.
But I don't think it reached a week. You send in the documents, 48, 72 hours later, you have an answer. It's not always approved, but
You'll know what your fate is.
Exactly.
Whether they've accepted or not.
within a certain amount of time. And so when I first came back, like in 2018, I had those documents and I traveled with it. What you really need is a yellow fever card. It's like, yeah, sure, maybe you may have those other documents like on your phone or stuff, but if you don't have your yellow fever card, they're a bit strict with that. But strict is also relative. If you've got, at the end of the day, with certain governments and certain authorities, money speaks louder than anything else, right? So you can get a yellow fever card at the airport. It's really not that difficult. But yeah, I just stood in line. They gave me my visa when I arrived, and then I crossed through. And I was like, oh, wow. I'm in another country. It's just something else to tick off my bucket list, right? No, go ahead.
So you even have a privilege of pursuing your bucket list.
having a travel bucket list,
Bucket
right?
list privilege.
Yeah, and just like, oh yeah, we finished
But
Europe.
for now, your bucket list, you have to limit it here. So now
Yeah.
I'll go to Busika.
The bucket list becomes
To Ginger.
cities and
If you go to Ginger, you've done so well.
You take it now.
I'm telling
yeah,
you.
but then when I think Uganda changed this rule slightly where they're like no more visa on arrival, so all I have to do is apply online. It's still not that difficult, but it's a bit of a nuisance because I'm like, I want to know that I can just get up and go. One of my friends reached out. Well, not a friend, an acquaintance reached out. Sometimes, they'll reach if they know that you're in the country or whatever. They'll reach out to you and be like, "Oh, I forgot to apply for the visa. It's not coming. What can we do?" And I don't know. We always just find a way. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, but so I'm going to be a part-time moderator now. So I feel like, so if you've been able to travel this relatively easily, what do you think are the benefits like of travel? Like what have you learned?
My world has expanded. Yeah.
And so has your perspective, I guess.
Yeah. But I've always been of the impression that, like I mentioned, you don't have to go far for your perspective to expand. But I think the addition to be able to go internationally is just seeing how beautiful the world is, whether it's the people or the landscapes, what have you, the cultures, right? And noticing how similar we all are. And yeah, you don't need to travel to Canada to see that to be the case, but it's nice, to take that little break and go interact with new people. Yeah, it opens the world up.
That's great. So I was looking at the disadvantage of people who don't travel that regularly. But also I think we should talk about like travel on the borderlines. For example, for us, if you look at Busia or you look at
Malaba.
Malaba or Bunagana, or there's a point where you can even, there's a tree that divides DRC, Uganda, and South Sudan.
Yeah. There's a road where you.
For them, for us, we are obsessed with the government being part of our everyday journey when traveling. But for them, the government is really
They
absent.
can't relate.
Because this is one community that have this imaginary line between them. They cannot relate to the fact that you have to first get a visa, whatever. They will just cross down the hill and enter this other country. So they're living. For them, travel is not as hectic as it is here. But also they're actually doing trade, which some people may call illegal. But for them, there's intertrade there, because I'll bring sugar, or someone will come from the other side to buy salt from me.
Everything, cigarettes.
So that is also the way, that's a perspective also you have to put in mind, that the southern border communities actually are living life as usual. They don't see the need to involve government in there.
Like the guys in
They are
Lucy
to
and
day-to-day
what-
movements.
But they also keep it quite tight.
There was a guy called Mudi Awori from Busia. His brother was the vice president in Kenya, while the other brother was running for president in Uganda. So for many communities along there, I also happen to relate in one way or the other, because I have cousins who are in Kenya with Kenyan IDs, and they live there, and they're Kenyans indeed, while we are also here in Uganda. So I think the borders for Africa, especially for Africa, are quite recent. They're quite recent, because 100 years is not that long ago. Some communities are still together. Yeah. And I also don't think that the concept of nationhood is seen the same way in Africa as it is seen, let's say, in Europe. For instance, the people of Denmark, I think, see themselves truly as a nation. I think they all sort of align to the same kind of thing. While I don't think that, let's say, Nigerians view themselves as a nation in the same way, or even Sudanese. I don't think they view themselves as a nation in the same way. And you can see that in the clashes they always have.
So because of the tribal divides, they don't see themselves as a nation?
Not necessarily, but because it was just invented by the British. Yeah, it was the British, for whatever reasons they relied on. They just decided that these guys, because North and Southern Nigeria are very different culturally, and even the religions they adopted later on. The other guys adopted Christianity, other guys adopted Islam. They are very different, and so the same thing was with Sudan and South Sudan, and which recently managed to separate. But they had also been lumped together by their colonizers. And I don't think that it was a nation in the same sense as, let's say, Denmark.
True.
Yeah.
You know, just to that point, when one looks at the map of Europe, it's like most of those countries are divided by natural bodies, mountains, rivers, whatever, geographical features. But when one looks at the map of Africa, you see a lot of straight lines, because those maps were really drawn like that.
Yeah.
You know, they were not, those communities were not divided by any serious features. People just drew straight lines. The colonial masters drew straight lines. The same happens when you look at the maps, especially in the Middle East. You see a lot of straight lines that were drawn by their colonial masters. But to the point earlier on, what does it do to a person, an African, to travel to Canada? I think that it significantly changes how they see the world and helps to demystify, you know, like the idea of whiteness. Because I think that when you live in Uganda, and perhaps you've never gone to North America or Europe, there's a certain idea that you have of what white communities are, and it's very much influenced by the movies or Hollywood or TV.
That's true.
Yeah, and that I feel that in the international travel system taking away the right for Africans to see those communities as they really are, yeah, it's a fundamental denial of something that's very human. We take it for granted that you know, like the visa officer, yeah, who does that work, the person at the
just looking
embassy.
at your skin color, guys, you think you have money. Have you seen like these guys who TikTok videos? These guys who come like from the US and just move around Ugandan villages.
Yeah, I've been seeing.
Everyone is begging for money. Like,
Yeah, but
they believe that this guy is better than them, but yet there's actually no evidence that this guy.
But I think it's also a subconscious programming from a young age. People are subconsciously programmed to believe that the white man is better than them inherently. And for me, I know we've moved on from religion since last week, but I know that it plays a part. That a young man from let's say Kampala will see a white man as close to his God, because the pictures in his church No, the pictures
Agatha, speak. What's up with
What does he mean close to their God?
because the pictures in this church of Jesus are of a white man with blue eyes. And so obviously when he sees the white man, he sees the lookalike of Jesus. In fact, we've seen in Kenya where some guy, a church guy, got a random white man with long hair and dressed him up in a kanzu and paraded him as Jesus. And guys were eager. They were eager to meet him. The people were eager to meet him.
Should have
So
just put an LED light on his cans. Give him a halo or something.
I think that plays a part also. I think it plays a part in how the minds of people work.
Yeah, but there's also been like on a political level, like instances where, for example, in East Africa, they make it easier for people to travel within their countries. For example, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, DRC now. Because you can just choose a national ID to travel, makes it much easier and also more accessible for more people to travel.
So have you traveled using your national ID?
Yeah, I've gone to Kenya, I've gone to Rwanda. So yeah.
And what has that experience been like when you cross the border? You're not bothered in any way?
They just ask you for your ID and the reason for your travel. I think that's
Must
what
be
you have to
nice.
answer. Yeah. But so you find it is still extremely hard to travel within Africa for Africans.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the laws of African countries, most of them have been inherited from the colonial masters. Even Uganda here, most of the laws that are still on our law books are colonial laws. We've never really changed much. And now, these are laws, of course, for them, the colonial guys had their reasons why they didn't want people crisscrossing. They needed to control. If I'm controlling Kenya, I don't want random guys, a bunch of 1,000 guys coming from Kenya crossing in. So it was a bit strict. So I think it played a part. Many of these guys have simply continued. We've not really changed much. We've not changed the education system. We've not changed so much. And so we've not really thought that deeply into what it means to allow Kenyan guys to cross over. And our parliaments are also not helping. That it's rare to find them discussing such things. That, for instance, why should let's say somebody from...
Because they're traveling easily.
Exactly.
Like, it's not an issue for them.
For them, they can
have
travel
red passports.
with their diplomatic passports.
Exactly.
They don't care, yeah.
Like, I feel as if it'll only be a matter of conversation when they're the ones who are probably...
Yeah, maybe if they're affected, they'll feel,
Right.
maybe we need to talk about this. Because I think this should be easy. Because how come the Europeans do it?
Exactly.
How come a person can casually wake up in Netherlands, he buys a ticket and he goes to Denmark or wherever, anywhere within the Eurozone, he casually travels without any hassle. How different is it from Africa? I think we should be able to do the same.
I suspect the reason it's harder for Africans to travel within Africa has more to do with the infrastructure than the policies and rules. That if I'm in Uganda and I want to go to Malawi, I first go to Ethiopia, then go down to Malawi or Nairobi,
So
then
naturally it gets even more expensive.
then go down to Nairobi, to Malawi. So yeah, so naturally it gets more expensive because the infrastructure is just not there. Again, like I said, I suspect, and I think that it has less to do with the
rules of those countries?
with the rules of those countries. Because I don't know, I rarely hear any stories of somebody saying, I applied for a visa to Ghana and it was denied. But there are so many stories about applying to visas to Europe and them being denied. Yeah.
By the way, you'd be surprised. African countries are denying visas to so many people.
To other Africans?
Yeah.
Yes.
For example, South Africa, it's crazy.
Yeah, so many people are
South
being
Africa is
denied.
the exception.
But I feel as if South Africa is like, it perceives itself as quite close to whiteness and close to the global West.
Yeah.
Am I wrong with that perception?
But I think it's always about the politics around the given issue. Now, for instance, Uganda, I think the people who get denied visas the most to Uganda are people from Yemen. And it's because Yemen is apparently a security risk. I did not know this until I represented 3 Yemeni gentlemen who were coming here to visit their brother who has been here for the last 20 years. They were coming here to visit, but they came 3 of them. They got visas online, but one of them did not what? One of them had not been approved, but he traveled anyway. So when they arrived here, 3 of them, but one of them without a visa, they now prevented all the 3 from entering. And later on, I tried to pursue the matter with the government agencies. And you know what they told me? Man, that Yemen, we don't trust it. That's what they said. Those guys are usually terrorists. So it was just, I think, a general view in the security circles of Uganda that guys from Yemen are, okay, maybe problematic. Basically, that they've ruled that geographical location as problematic.
Yeah, but there was a whole even for the USA. I've seen them. For example, when Trump signed some executive order to do with certain countries, Sudan, Iraq, and all those countries, largely Muslim, or Arabic.
Yeah.
They do not exactly.
With Yemen, even there are issues with Saudi.
Yeah, they don't allow any of those people from those countries to enter the US.
Yeah.
So yeah, politics also plays a role there.
But Eshban, it seems like out of the 4 of you Ugandan passport holders, you're the only one who's actually traveled outside of Uganda.
From East Africa.
Or East
everywhere, yeah,
Africa.
because we can travel with our nationalities.
Outside of Africa, let's say. What has that experience been like for you? Have you ever had any difficulty after, going through the whole process of asking for a visa? But I know sometimes even being in the airports, dealing with those like foreign border patrollers, it's not always easy. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, most countries tell you that even with the visa, it doesn't guarantee entry, and that the final decision rests with the visa officer, who then looks at you, profiles you, scrolls through your passport pages to make a very human and very subjective assessment of whether you'll be good for them. Like, what would be the effect of letting this person into the country? So I mean, I've had an immigration officer tell me, you're here for 5 days, no more, no less. I was like, okay.
I was planning to add any more days.
Yeah, one time I was in Brussels and in a line, and they pulled me out of a line, and they checked my passport, and they hold it like this. How do you say, like, with
Wide
pages open, and they lower their eyes up to where the page is, because they're looking at the sticker to scan it for bubbles. And apparently that's a sign that one's visa is fake. So you can imagine in a line of maybe about 20 people.
The one they pointed out.
Yes, who could possibly have a fake visa. So, I mean, it's not, I think that even when one has the visa in their passport, there are so many hurdles and hoops to overcome in that process of like getting onto the plane, finding your way through foreign airports until finally being let out. You're still somebody that is not necessarily desired, or you're still somebody whose right to travel has not been fully consolidated even when you have that visa. And that's why I think that passport disadvantage and passport privilege, at the core of it, is a very racist idea around who has rights and who doesn't.
And I guess that's why it's so dehumanizing.
Yeah.
You're not seen or considered. You're not given the space. The automatic assumption is, why would you travel?
Yeah.
What would you have to do here?
I saw a banner some months ago that said, and it was really about, people whose migration is forced. And it said, I think, that when one puts their child in a boat, it's because the water is safer than the land.
Yes.
So that even in people whose migration is forced, that in places where that migration is happening, or the destinations, the people there still don't see those migrants as people who have been forced to leave their home. Like, that humanity is taken away from them. That these are people with homes, and by all means, they would have preferred to stay home.
True.
Yes.
That they wouldn't put their babies in a boat, knowing that the boat is dangerous. It's almost as though, like, Africans who want to travel to Europe and North America are treated as some illogical, irrational human beings who are driven by other forces. Yeah.
Yeah, also wanted to add just what Eshban is
And
saying.
incapable financial stability.
What Eshban is saying, that's a very good perspective to bring to this conversation of travel. Because there's also this whole concept of stateless nations. Yeah? Guys who don't belong anywhere.
Like me.
No, not like you.
What about me who thinks I am cosmopolitan?
Yeah. No, but
I'm a citizen of the entire cosmos.
like Palestinians right now, like, what is happening to them?
Because now they're not really a state.
And they don't belong anywhere else. They don't see them belong.
Yeah.
They don't see themselves
They can't
belonging
just wake
anywhere
up
else.
and say, let's go to Lebanon. Let's
But
go
also
to...
there's people like in Myanmar. There was what's Myanmar? There's a whole section of
the
guys-
Muslims who are having
In
issues
China?
there.
No, Myanmar. Anyway, there's a whole community there that was pushed out. Of course, it's just about their history and
The
whatever.
whole Uyghur Muslims or
But they do not really belong to where they've been forced to. But then at home also, they don't really belong. But also we've seen the aspect like of what Rwanda also is, because of its history of genocide and whatever. So many people are scattered around
The globe.
the globe, but also mainly in East Africa. And yet, certain sections of people don't consider them, truly their country. But then even again, they don't know their home, So that's also those things affect travel. So that guy, he can't even travel back home. It's harder for him to go back home. So there are also those aspects, those different perspectives to travel around. And I don't think they even get visas, man.
It must be crazy because even getting, let's say, national IDs for them here in Uganda is a problem.
It's crazy.
And yet some of them are really Ugandans.
And this idea of if you have a certain visa in your passport to like a certain country and you want to go to another country, suddenly that country may not allow you to have their visa or to enter their country because you've been to another country that they either they don't see
True.
eye to eye with for whatever reason, right? It's just there's so many hoops when it comes to this. And so I can only imagine having to go through all of that with a quote unquote weak passport.
It used to be a long time ago that Ugandans could travel to Georgia in Eastern Europe and get visas on arrival. But when Georgia got into a conflict with Russia and Uganda invited, I don't know if they invited, but Uganda welcomed the Russian Foreign Affairs Minister here. And then Georgia said, no more with the visa on arrival. So now Ugandans who wanted to travel to Georgia had to either first get an EU, a Schengen visa or an US visa or other, strong Eastern European countries, for example, Japan. But for me, it says something about, again, who has the right. I really think that at the core of this thing is the fact that some people are really not human enough and undeserving of certain privileges that the West has enjoyed. Because here is poor Uganda being dragged into a fight between two states because they accommodated one foreign actor and then another country cancels them off. So Ugandans who seek to travel to those countries have to make that calculation of whose friend should I be, whose kind of politics should I play, almost as though
I had to also check like social media accounts, like your social media content.
I saw the requirements, for instance, for applying for one of those Western countries' visas. And the requirement was we need to know.
US?
And you have to share.
You might also want it. Play the politics.
You have to attach your social media information. I say, but now why?
Imagine that. Imagine how personal that is.
That is too petty, man. You mean if I have ever voiced an opinion that you don't like, I should now be prevented from, let's say, a business opportunity in your country? Or...
bad vibes.
But I also want to hear, does Uganda ask for anything that you thought was awkward or strange?
No, Uganda doesn't.
Not even a yellow fever guy.
Not even what?
That yellow fever card.
But that's not strange. So many countries require a yellow fever card, actually,
reasonable.
and it's a matter of safety.
Yeah, it's reasonable. You should see the ones for Saudi Arabia, for instance, immigration to Saudi Arabia. You think yellow fever is awkward? They want AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea. You have to test for.
Is it true that they don't give citizenship to people who are not original Emirati?
Most definitely.
Hey.
You can live there for 20 years, 30
But
years.
you'll never
and
be a
you'll
citizen.
Yeah, but
That's
they'll
so
welcome
dope.
you. You'll live there, you'll work there, you'll go away. But you will not be.
What if you marry an Emirati?
No, doesn't change
It's
anything.
unheard of.
No, you marry an Emirati and then y'all have kids. That child is
Maybe that child will be.
Yeah.
Maybe that child will be.
It
But
has
you,
to be
you
a
won't
woman's, though, I believe.
Yeah, but
The children have to be by a woman
the
for them
parent.
to be considered.
oh, they're like the Jewish people then.
Yes, so the wife has
you're
to
the
be the
parent.
Arab in question, not the other way around.
Interesting. Anyways, everybody has their own rules. All this stuff is so subjective, but it's also so like dehumanizing. Like I can't imagine what it'd be like having to not have that privilege, honestly. And I know it seems weird saying that to people who have to struggle most times if they're trying to travel, but I'm just like, will we ever see change to this? I don't know. Especially since if you consider how much has changed since 9/11 specifically within the States, but also globally as a result of this, whether it's a real or fake attack,
I think the
who really
considerations
knows?
are always based on security and the prevailing politics. Those are the two factors that always.
Also economics.
But it's just like, why can't Africa have an African?
Because we're not powerful enough. I think the day Africa is powerful enough to actually demand these things.
But also we don't have that
Demand
thing.
to whom?
But also we don't have that sense of
because
unity,
you see,
man.
look at, for instance, the UN. We have states that are members of the permanent members of the Security Council, meaning they have power to veto any decision of the UN, the general UN. UN takes a decision. There are certain 5 guys who are just able to demand. Say now for us that one we've refused it, and if any one of the 5 refuses, then the rest can't do anything. But they didn't just get there on vibes. They got there by demonstrating might and power. So I don't know. Maybe the one day if we have enough power to sit on the table, well, maybe we can be able to demand these things. But I don't think they will be handed to us because we have asked for them.
When African nations try to exercise their power, their leaders are killed.
Are you serious? What my question is though, what are the ambassadors to these countries doing?
I think it's
Are they
it's
not
beyond
the ones
them.
Are they
supposed to
representing
ease?
are they truly representing the countries?
Yeah, like why are they not providing ease?
But I think
it's
they're also
beyond
handcuffed.
Yeah.
There's a politics in
By
place
whom?
that you must.
Yeah.
There's a there's a
Doesn't
system
matter
in
how
place.
brilliant an ambassador you are, but the question is which country are you from?
Yeah.
You get. We don't care how well you shape these issues. I think that is inconsequential.
So no matter what level you get at the end of the day, your passport is still.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we have to ask you, but who are you? You are from where? Where are you coming from?
True.
You know, it used to be that people in Uganda would try, especially during the colonial era, would travel around with a large ID. I think they called it a chipande, something that described who you are, name, gender, where you stay, whatever ID. And now we look back at it, and the police would stop you and say, the colonial police would stop you and say,
Explain yourself.
proof of quote unquote residence. And now we look back at it as like one of the primitive practices of that time.
Yeah.
I think maybe someday in future,
someone will move past it.
when we recognize that this international migration system is really discriminatory and it gets abolished, who knows, maybe in 2,000 years, we will look back at it as a really primitive thing, that there were people whose movement was undermined or limited simply because of where they had been born or the skin of their color, or even their economic status. I mean, we talk about
Discrimination based on skin, but we don't talk about how they discriminate based on.
we talk about how some people hate poor people, but no one hates poor people like the Western world.
You can't just say that and then move the mic away. What you mean?
The equivalent of dropping the mic.
He's dropped it.
Yeah, because when you ask me to show you my bank statement for the last 6 months, what you're saying is,
I need to know if you're not poor.
that show me that you're not poor, then we can be friends.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's so weird. Like we're talking about it now, but like the world has accepted this, that we are going to discriminate you based on your skin color and your economic status.
Yeah, but also there's a whole thing about also, you talked about stateless nations, but also like in a volatile region, like, the East African region or the Great Lakes region, they're susceptible. So many wars are happening. And when wars happen, that means displacement of people and they have to keep moving. It's also very funny that in Africa, Uganda somehow shines as one that hosts the most refugees. I think, I don't know, the African continent or
Whoever
whatever.
feels unsafe elsewhere comes to Uganda.
And so other countries that someone can be running from war, but they cannot be allowed access into them. That's so strange. And the fact that people get surprised when they're allowed to even do any economic activity they would want to.
People are very shocked. How can a refugee?
But also, I think it also speaks to our Ubuntu, like African culture. I think, you do not send away someone who's seeking help.
Yeah.
And you may not have so much even.
And
but,
what's so funny is that these borders that we're dying so much for were not there a few hundred years ago. People were casually crisscrossing from Chad to Sudan to Uganda. Like, it wasn't that much of a big deal. So just because these borders were drawn, that doesn't mean suddenly now we have to abandon all the other human.
Yeah.
But from what I see in the news, Canada also has a very generous policy culture in like accepting
Is it, or it's a
migrants.
perception?
Is that true?
I think it's certain types of migrants.
Rich migrants?
and light and bright. Yeah, because a lot of obviously the Palestinians, who were trying to enter Canada had to go through so many more hoops and pay more compared to like Ukrainians, right? Who were trying to enter after the war broke out in their country. But even when you look at like Haitians, Cameroonians, just anyone from the global south, right? The rules are way more strict for them as opposed to if a European is trying to immigrate or migrate. So is Canada as open? I think Canada has really good marketing. I've said that and I will always say that as somebody who's just experienced it.
He said the PR budget is
So it's like a neighboring country.
It's different in the sense that Americans own their truths and Canadians will let you believe what you want to believe and then they'll do whatever benefits them. Which is all nations, but the difference is that Canada will act one way, you know? So read the fine print is all I'm saying.
But also, I'm meant to understand that Canada is so vast.
It
And
is.
with so little population. So I don't
The
know if
population
it
is
into
congregated in the cities, and the cities are at the corners of the country. So you've got the major metropolitans, you've got Montreal, Toronto in the east, and then maybe like Halifax and whatnot, right? But the big ones, Montreal and Toronto. And then in the west, you've got Vancouver. And I guess in Alberta, you've got maybe Edmonton, which is growing. And then in the middle there, that's where the prairies are. And then in the north, there's barely
Those are
anyone.
the famous prairies we studied.
Yes, the famous prairies. And in the north there's the mainly indigenous communities. But because it's so cold there and just the quality of life is quite low, there are barely any people up there. And then in the prairies, there are barely any people there as well. But I feel like give it some years, people will start somehow making a life even within those conditions, because I feel like that's just what humans do. But yeah, right now, Canada's population is congregated in the major cities.
Do Canadians or Americans, do they have to show any documentation to cross back and forth?
So if you are Canadian, like with a Canadian passport, I'm trying to remember. I don't think so. I'm trying to see if you need a visa, but I don't think so. I think you just show your passport. If I'm not mistaken, because I may cut this out because my situation was a bit unique because at one point I had a American green card. And so I would just show that instead of showing any of my Canadian information.
So you had the American green card with the Cameroonian passport?
No. Because by the time the American
Yes,
green
but
card...
you're going to put Josie in danger.
Oh, don't worry. This will be cut out.
Okay.
Oh.
But this is just for the sake of y'all's
For
understanding.
us to understand the picture.
By the time I had the American green card, I'd also received the Canadian green card, let's say. So I guess I still had the Cameroonian passport for both, yes, but I wasn't using that, obviously, because I didn't really go to Cameroon. Maybe I went to Cameroon once on that passport, but I don't remember. And I would just travel within
North America.
Actually, no, at one point I went to Guatemala when I wasn't a citizen of either one of those countries yet. So I had to get a visa, I think, in my Cameroonian passport. But this was like in 2013. It was a long time ago. But yeah, Guatemala requires a visa. And it went pretty smoothly. But after doing my time for Canada, I got my passport. And then that wasn't an issue. I don't think you have to... I think you can go to the States as a Canadian, like with a Canadian passport, without needing an American visa, if I'm not mistaken. And vice versa. As long as you have no past history of anything, mischievous when you're at the border, you should be fine. Yeah. But if you have even a single thing, they'll hold you at the border. That's the thing. The difference, oh my goodness. So I remember having to cross those borders, especially there's a difference when you do it by bus and when you do it by plane. The bus border guys are just so committed to their jobs. And they'll be asking you all of these questions. You feel so nervous. Oh my goodness. Especially if, I'm definitely cutting this part out. But especially if you're just crossing for the sake of you need to cross because it's been a while, right? So you just cross, you get the stamp, and then you cross back and they start asking you these questions. Of course, you're not going to tell the truth, right? So you got to make, I went shopping in Vermont for a day and now I'm back. even though what you did is you cross so that you can have the stamp so that you don't get like deported or whatever, right? So I think those are the struggles that I've experienced in the process of on the road to getting a strong passport. But other than that, and now we chilling.
You arrived finally.
I've arrived, and I find myself constantly in the global South. It's like, girl, what's going on? But yeah, so as we wrap up, I just want to get y'all's final thoughts, final words that you'd like to say when it comes to this particular topic. And do you care to change your passport? Maybe we'll end with that question. Ooh, I'm seeing grimaces. I'm seeing faces.
But for me personally, man, I'm yet to be obsessed by that kind of life, like traveling and wanting to be places. I feel personally, to talk for myself, I have not exploited Uganda enough to want to learn about other places like that.
So much that
But
you
also,
don't
I
stay
could be
there.
poor. I don't know. Maybe my perspective is also from my pockets.
Maybe you're being limited by
my pockets. But so I don't think I would want like a superior passport. I know for some people their work really
Requires them to do
rests on their ability to travel. That that vast. And so it's important also to see, like, to check some of these policies, but to also trigger, can governments do more? If the East African region can sit down and say, this is okay, why can't the African Union sit and say, please, you can easily move across your borders?
Right.
So it also needs more, proactiveness from our leaders. But I also know it's very difficult, considering the powers and how the system is set up globally.
Right.
Yeah, so it's something that we're going to deal with a little more before it gets better.
And in the meanwhile, you're Ugandan till you die.
Of course.
Okay. Blue
Without a doubt.
blue passport for life.
Properly.
Eshban, what about you?
I think it's a nuanced question in the sense that I don't want to say that I'm Ugandan until I die, because this nationality Uganda was just landed on me by an accident. This is not something I deliberately chose. I've grown to love it. Yeah, as one
But
loves.
who chooses? But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I've grown to love it as one loves a community that they have been raised in.
True.
But having said that, I think it would make me sad to have to change the passport for the privilege of travel. Perhaps I might change the passport because I'm in pursuit of those rights to move freely, the rights that the West, North America, and Europe have enjoyed. So I would consider changing it. It's not entirely off the table, but not because of the privilege of travel, but rather because I want to be treated equally, like so many white people around the world are.
Yeah. Oswan?
For me, I don't know. I'm happy to be Ugandan, but I would lie to you if I told you that I'm attached to it in some way, that now you see this country. Well, I know that for me, the way I view Uganda, it's a geographical expression. I don't think it's really that we have that close affinity. But like him, I have grown attached by virtue of the
You don't
fact that
believe it's the most beautiful country in the world?
No.
It's not the pearl.
So, I mean, there are wonderful things about
You
it.
heard it here first from a Ugandan himself. This is not the pearl of Africa.
There are a number of wonderful things about Uganda, and I'm not too eager to leave necessarily. But I can't speak for tomorrow. I mean, I might want to go away someday. And if I found myself with the opportunity to switch passports, I probably would take it. If it would ease my movement around the world, widen my opportunities, of course, maybe I would. But I don't know if I would break my back to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Agatha?
Eventually, yeah, after the whole hassle with visas and whatnot, it just came to me that I should make peace with where I am for now, because everything good comes from just a peaceful home, in my opinion. So I should have my apartment that I like and furnish it and relax, and let travel be something that is just added to me, but not something that I last after. Because then it starts to consume you and you won't do anything productive here as well, right? Because you'll be so tired all the time, just longing for something. Just chill, breathe. until our ambassadors start being given privileges or someone actually looks into the immigration challenges. I've seen Nigerians on the timeline just arguing about how they toss their passports aside, how they've missed flights because people keep segregating their passports. Actually, we should have had a Nigerian here because those people are
By
struggling.
Nigerians, eh?
Yeah, they are really struggling. It's so bad. It's so bad.
They see the Nigerian passport, they say, eh.
They toss it. They're like, oh, give us a minute.
And you know what's funny? I have also been guilty of discriminating with people. I was recently, there's a place I normally relax from in Chanja there. And there's a number of Nigerians.
Relaxing.
There's a number of Nigerians there. So
You don't feel
I
so?
didn't know that they were Nigerians. So I used to relate with them. I had never had them speak. We were playing pool. So we'd always play and there was not much being said. So I didn't know that they were. But the day I had them speaking with that, I don't, trust me, I don't discriminate against anyone based on where they come from. But something in my head said, you have to move, you have to be now careful now. But I think it's because of the reputation that they have. I warn myself against the biases though.
But I
I
definitely...
acknowledge that I'm biased, but I know that it's not simply because somebody is Nigerian that they have a problem.
Right.
Yeah, but I definitely look forward to being able to move
Yeah.
with
move.
ease. Yeah.
All right.
And I guess maybe we should also think about the reputation of our countries. Because it seems Nigerians are suffering because of the reputation of their countries.
No, that's not there.
Okay, in a way. Not entirely.
I think that's a deeper conversation because again, it's
The whole
about
subject, man.
it's
Nigerians,
about
yeah.
story, like narrative building,
That
and
is true. But that is still reputation. And a reputation,
that has been put on them.
and the reputation is not always true. You get, it's not always true. But if you have, but it's a very powerful thing. And it doesn't represent the truth, but it influences how you're treated. Yeah. So I think that people should think about it.
A lot of thought-provoking final thoughts here. So as we wrap up, I just want to thank you, Eshban and Oswan, for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you to Karane. What about me? What's wrong with you? This is
Karane has no rights.
y'all know this is not a new conversation. So often I see on socials, another African sharing their story of attempting to acquire like a visa to some other country and dealing with just nonsense, right? But unfortunately, as it stands right now, all we can do is move, because we must and speak out and share your stories and recognize that like you're not alone in it. And I don't know what change we can really bring about, but to Eshban's point earlier about how, back in the day they used to move a certain way and now you see that that's actually so antiquated. So the hope is just that as we keep moving forward, all of these, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just all made up, right? But it's tied to the powers that be, and it's tied to something greater than sometimes what we can see and what we can relate to and understand. The solution is not that everybody should just go and get a Canadian passport. But there has to be some sort of middle ground because it is a right. It's a right to move freely, to have the choice, I should say, to move freely. Anyway, so Karane, tell the people where they can find you if they found your points quite insightful and they want to continue having these conversations in your DMs.
I hope what I said is not what the total sum of who I am. So I hope you don't get surprised when you get on there. But _Afande, some of those platforms, you'll find me.
All right.
I'm only, this is Eshban. I'm only on LinkedIn. Eshban.
Bro, you're that serious in life?
Corporate bit.
Yes, man, really. Not taking anything for granted.
This is Eshban. I used to be on Twitter, not anymore. So now I'm only on LinkedIn. Eshban Kwesiga on LinkedIn.
All right, check them out. Oswan, let the people know where they can find you.
I'm on X as B_Oswan. OSWAN.
All right, y'all check him out if you're interested in continuing this conversation with him. Agatha, let the people know where they can find you.
Kello's World, Instagram, Twitter.
Period.
Only.
And I'm Hey, it's Josie everywhere. Tune in next week to find out what we've been up to, how we're navigating these Kampala streets, and ultimately why
Uganda remains our country.
Bye.
Bye-bye.